What is up, everybody? Welcome to the SummerSlam 2025 Night 1 review. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and I am joined by Tempest. Tempest, welcome to the channel. Welcome back, actually. You haven't been on in several years. So glad to have you on. Thank you so much for filling in. Before we get started, how are you, man?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I have not had to do a review immediately after a pay-per-view at such ungodly hours of the day over here in England, but I've had a couple of Red Bulls, so that should keep me energetic, and I have just seen the end, a fantastic end of a pay-per-view, I must say. So I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk about it. I appreciate you having me back on the channel. I've done some promo wars here, but I'm ready to talk about a fun pay-per-view.
Yes. Okay, wait, hold on. What time is it over there right now?
It is just about 2:30 in the morning.
Guys, can we please give it up for Tempest? It's literally 2:30 in the morning, and he's doing a post-show review. Oh my God.
I was expecting way later. I thought they showed remarkable restraint for a WWE show, only going like 3.5 hours. That's not too bad. I was for sure thinking we were going to start this at 3 a.m. my time.
Yeah, we had a couple of short matches, right?
Yeah. Short matches and not a lot of just messing about in the interim, like in between matches. The biggest chunk of it was like right at the beginning with Cardi B and then a bunch of entrances. But otherwise, I thought they just went along at a pretty good pace. And again, that's a welcome change for a lot of these WWE shows.
So let's get to it. We need to talk about SummerSlam. Tempest, overall thoughts. I'm going to start off with, I'm not feeling too well right now. I did not like the ending of SummerSlam, and I know that this is going to be a controversial one because here's the thing. Everyone and their mothers was expecting Seth Rollins to cash in. Everybody. But I hoped it wouldn't happen. I'm a CM Punk fan. I haven't seen CM Punk as World Heavyweight Champion in freaking forever. Okay? I wanted to see that. I knew we weren't going to get it. I fucking knew it. And it still happened. And even though I knew it was going to happen, I was still very upset. Tempest, I'm sorry. This was not for me. The entire thing was just not for me. Where are you at in terms of how you're feeling just overall?
Overall, when it comes to the show, I thought that this was a show that was fine. It was, some may use the term mid. I think that might be a bit harsh because I didn't think it was necessarily like a bad match on the show, but it was a show that desperately needed a good main event to make it something that people will go back and rewatch down the line, because all the matches were fine, but I didn't think that any of them were anything I would go out of my way to watch again. That main event match was absolutely something I would go back and rewatch. And it's really interesting. You look at the main event match and then the post-match angle and Money in the Bank cash-in and everything, and the contrast between the two, where one was very much a big prize fight between two very old school workers, and then the other is like your next chapter of the overall storyline that is going to be the focus of Raw. And I think those two things balance each other out very nicely to cap off a big show like SummerSlam. So I'm not too upset about it. CM Punk needs to continue his trend of having world championship reigns last a day, maybe, not even in this case. And of course, that does go back to his AEW World Championship reigns, of which the less spoken about, the better. But it's a really interesting thing because you can't do the injury feigning storyline too often. And of course, all the different reports would come out after Saturday night's main event. And how serious was it? Was it just a cover for a previous injury? All of these different things. If you're just looking at how it was all executed on TV, I thought it was a masterfully done angle. The puppetry of Seth Rollins coming out and then, oh, just you wait, I'll be back, turning around, dropping the crutches, then going down, doing the match. It was the theater that you hope a big WWE main event angle will be. And now Seth Rollins as world champion on Raw is something we have seen before, but I think him as a character this time around is much more interesting, with a lot more interesting storyline directions to go in than we had seen the previous time. So I really don't have any negative qualms to have with this main event. I thought it was absolutely superb.
I thought the main event was great. Gunther and CM Punk going back and forth. Well, not even back and forth. I should rephrase that. CM Punk was being manhandled throughout this entire matchup. That I loved. I love the way that Gunther was mocking him multiple times, like locking in the sharpshooter on him and having him dead, practically dead on the ground and completely looking like he was done, like he didn't have anything else left, like no gas in the tank left. I feel that every person watching was thinking, damn, how much more can CM Punk possibly withstand? When can CM Punk finally get some sort of comeuppance during this match? And Gunther mocking him, saying, this is the best in the world, and look at how I have him. I thought the match was awesome between Gunther and CM Punk. That part, I loved, hands down. And I think for me, the only part, and I will agree with you, by the way, I do think that the way that they did the Seth Rollins trickery, that was great. I feel like if you are a Seth Rollins fan and you wanted to see Seth Rollins cash in and you wanted to see Seth Rollins win, I think you'll love this. I feel like people who saw that love this. Now, if you're like me and I just wanted a beautiful, simple, hard-hitting, aggressive match between Gunther and CM Punk that ended with just CM Punk taking that World Heavyweight Championship and going off and running into the sunset and having a nice little couple months of a reign, because that's what I wanted. I didn't get that, Tempest. I didn't get it. And you mentioned the AEW title reign. That's why I wanted to see this. You got to understand, seeing Punk as champ in AEW and unfortunately not getting those reigns the way we thought they would left me wanting more. At that point, I never thought we would see CM Punk back in WWE. When CM Punk came back, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to see CM Punk as world champion once again. But in WWE, I can't believe it. I'm so excited. So I have been holding out for this moment for such a long time. And I knew the moment was going to get robbed, but I still really wanted it. It meant a lot to me, damn it. And it's out the freaking door just like that. So as a CM Punk fan, that is why I was hella bummed out with the finish of the show. Seth Rollins is a great freaking wrestler. I'm loving what they're doing with Bronson and Bron Breakker. Awesome. Flowers. But as a CM Punk fan, I'm dead.
That's that adversity. It's the adversity that the kids
I don't want
adversity,
Tempest. I'm done with adversity. How much more adversity can CM Punk possibly have?
Hey, man. Honestly, I thought there were a lot of very interesting parallels between the main event angle of SummerSlam Night 1 and a lot of the other kind of similar moments that we've gotten over the last, 10, 12 years or so. A few of them I pointed out as I was watching with people. The setup for the finish and everything was not obviously one for one. He gets inserted into the match, but very similar to the heist of the century. When you look back at the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match that was going on at the time, where Brock Lesnar's just killing Roman Reigns the entire time, but eventually fires up a little bit, gets the blood. You get your juice that you need in a big match like this to really, hype up and spur on the babyface comeback. And eventually then, you get the wobbly sell from the big monster champion. And that's when the big cash-in happened. Of course, it happened a little bit later, but just immediately got the gears going like, oh, I wonder if that's intentional. I thought that was a nice touch, even if it wasn't on purpose. It was just a little extra detail. But the fallout of it all, because I completely agree. Everybody that was watching it there, particularly in the crowd, wanted to see the big CM Punk title win. That's what, a lot of CM Punk fans have been waiting for. It was very eerily similar to me in its execution that the first time that Daniel Bryan won the WWE Championship, beating John Cena at SummerSlam in 2013, where everyone in that building wanted to see Daniel Bryan win the WWE Championship, but they wanted the full experience for their night to also be watching Randy Orton cash in the Money in the Bank that night, Triple H turn heel, the start of the Authority and everything. That was part of their experience for that night. Even though they really wanted to see Daniel Bryan be WWE champion, they wanted to see the next chapter in the story too. So this show, everybody wants CM Punk to win this match, win this big championship that he's waited so long for, but they also want the next chapter in the story. And fortunately for this one, I do have the benefit of the doubt given to them that I do think this will eventually lead to maybe CM Punk winning the Royal Rumble or something like that. I think his day and his title reign is still coming. This is just a classic bait and switch. And I think, unfortunately, for CM Punk fans such as yourself, CM Punk's the perfect character right now to do such a thing with. He's a perfect guy to have that kind of storyline. So it's a very interesting time for him. And I think it immediately injects a bit more life back into the main event scene of Raw, which I think it needed, because without Seth Rollins, the faction that he's at the head of, I think Braun and Bronson Reed did a fantastic job in his absence, but having the focal point there that the whole show could be built around again, I think will only do all of them good as a package. And CM Punk also dressed like one of the members of the Fantastic Four for his match. So for somebody who
was that a
happy,
dead giveaway? Because I don't know about Fantastic Fours. Did it have to mean anything?
He says it's clobbering time on the way to the ring for his entire career, and that's a Fantastic Four thing. And it's also like a punk rock song.
I didn't realize that was a Fantastic Four thing this whole time. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the Thing says it. The Big Rock Man, he says it's clobbering time. So that was really cool. As somebody who likes the Fantastic Four and saw the movie, and everybody should go see the movie, it's a good time. That was a nice little deal. And before we move on, one other little tidbit from this match that I thought was a nice little Easter egg is I'm pretty sure, with Punk being the big Bret Hart fan that he is, they do a sharpshooter spot right after Gunther puts Punk in the sharpshooter, where Punk reverses it, applies the sharpshooter on the ground, and turns him over into it. That, I have to imagine, is a lovely little homage to the Bret Hart Mr. Perfect SummerSlam match from 1991, where that's the finish to that match. And as someone who loves that match and loves Bret Hart, Canada, with all of my heart, seeing that just made me go, these guys are the same sort of wrestling fans that I am. And that means a lot to me, damn it.
And I feel like CM Punk obviously being a big Bret Hart fan. I know for a fact that your thought about that being your theory on that, I think is most likely accurate. Knowing CM Punk loves Bret, and they want to do the throwback and all of that. They think about this stuff, and it's cool to see things like that executed. But the thing that you mentioned about having these moments, and like you said, the crowd, maybe wanting to see CM Punk having that title reign, but also wanting to see the cash in when it's there. That makes sense because, the crowd wants to see those moments. But here's the thing. Is it good enough even? I think it would have been good enough had we also not seen the cash in. That's what I'm saying. So I think sometimes we always just want and expect a little bit more in these big shows, or else people are just going to be like, oh, that was lame. It was boring. He just won. No big deal, right? Yeah. But to me, I do think sometimes the good old-fashioned way is a nice way to go. But man, we got a lot of people throwing their thoughts in, reacting to this. So let's see what the people have to say. And then we'll kind of get into what might be next for both Seth and CM Punk and all of that. All right, we got Subman23 here who says, dang it, Punk, why didn't you run? I know, run, get out of there, take your title. You already won, bro.
Hop the barricade, blow a kiss on the way out. You've done this before. You should know the drill.
Yes. We got Infamous Ritter Loco says, if Seth Rollins cash in has you limp, then Blue Chew promo code Denise and get back in the game and pin your partner. Thank you, Frank. We also got Tracy. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, Tracy loves Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is her boy. Tracy, you're too kind. She sends in the super chat saying, so I'm a woman of my word. If Seth cashes in, I would pay. And all you have to do is say nice things about Seth on Raw. That's right. I'm sorry, but I'm happy, but sorry it was on Punk. So don't hate me for loving Seth. LOL, glad to see Tempest. Look, I'm never going to hate anybody for supporting their favorite wrestler. I'm here supporting my favorite wrestler. That's how it is, right? That's why we tune in. That's why we do these shows, right? Why we watch these shows. And I will say the 10 nice things about Seth Rollins on Monday on Raw. Tempest, you're going to be there filling in. Tempest will be here today, tomorrow, and filling in for Santi on Monday. So you'll remind me. We'll do it. The 10 nice things about Seth. I'm really sad right now, though. And I knew it. We all knew it, Tempest. Like, the second he came out and I saw him with the crutches, I'm like, oh, bro's about to bust a Willy Wonka right now. I know this. And
As
it
soon as
still
we
hurt
got to
though.
a certain bit in the match where they were filming Gunther in the far corner and the stage behind it, I was like, it's gonna happen. They're shooting it for a reason. It can't be by accident. Everybody knew that this was coming, you know? So I guess you better have had these 10 nice things about Seth Rollins prepped already. Otherwise, I'm not letting that Raw show end without him.
Don't worry, I will definitely make sure to do them. And then also, like, I remember, like, when Punk won and he was holding on to the title and holding it and squeezing it, I was like, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't squeeze the title if it wasn't going to stay on him. And then when they had no pyro afterwards, I was like, nah, they would have busted out the pyro by now. Like, the way they didn't even have the pyro was also a dead giveaway, because I don't think they would have done all the fancy pyro and then afterwards the cash in. Oh, so mad.
Yeah.
Tracy, thank you so much, man. Seriously, you're the best. Thank you, Tracy. We got JJ the Mexican who says, hey, it's El Generico and CM Punk got robbed.
Please.
I love that.
As far as I can tell, El Generico is still building orphanages somewhere. You know, he's doing the Lord's work.
Yes. We got Crew Kid 52 says, good evening, Mr. Canada. Main event was great, and I do like the way that Seth revealed the injury was a work. Enjoyed the women's tag team match, too. Crew Kid, thank you so much for sending that in. That was one of my happiest moments in this night, was seeing Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair capture those world tag team titles. I didn't think the match was all that, but I did love the finish, though, because they kind of teased, or they made it seem, rather, that Charlotte was going to attack Alexa Bliss when she was getting ready to execute the sister Abigail, but instead she ended up going and attacking Raquel, and they were able to land and score the victory, which is what people wanted. But I thought the way they executed it in the end was very well done. How'd you feel about the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match?
It was honestly one of my big highlights of the show. I thought, again, similarly, the match for the most part was just kind of there. It was fine. You know, I didn't really have anything super positive to say about it or super negative to say about it. It was just kind of fine. But I thought the closing sequence, basically from the moment where Alexa Bliss accidentally punches Charlotte, from there to the end, I thought everything else was executed pretty fantastically. You know, that it was a very simple story to tell. It didn't need to be more complicated than they made it. It's just the nice tease. You tease the dissension before, and then you set up a spot where, are they going to break up? No, actually, the babyface team does come together. They trust each other for what it's worth, and they win the big tag team title moments. And it's so interesting for a number of different reasons. But this means a lot to me, because for anybody that hasn't seen, this is shameless self-plug, but I put out a video essay on my YouTube channel called Charlotte Flair, the greatest wrestler to ever suck. And that sounds a lot more derogatory than the actual message of the video essay is, which is essentially people don't like Charlotte because they've not been given a reason to get invested in Charlotte Flair as a character, because she's never had like storylines. She's just either the champion or about to become champion, and there isn't enough emotional weight behind any of her stories to actually get people to care. And lo and behold, immediately after I put that video out, they put her into the first honest-to-God storyline that she has had.
Maybe they watched your video.
10 years? Maybe they did. I'd like to think that they did. I'm bringing the Lord's work, you know, to the WWE. But it has just validated my opinion in that just a little bit, to be like, oh, Charlotte Flair is massively over and popular again with the crowd because she's involved in a good and worthwhile storyline. So to see that now, not only helping Charlotte and where she's been at with her career, but also elevating up the women's tag titles, which have sorely needed a proper storyline hook for a very long time. That makes me feel a lot better about the women's tag division as well. So all in all, a big thumbs up for that one. It was probably my favorite thing on the show up to the main event. So yeah, glowing review, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I did like the ending of that. And one of the things that I think is interesting too is that we're also seeing far more, because you're mentioning how, you know, there was maybe not that relatability factor with Charlotte Flair. Now she's been so much more open. Obviously, the stuff on the outside of her life, her personal life, she's been very open and honest and sharing that kind of information and making her, you know, sort of vulnerable in those situations, right? But her talking about her divorce and the things that she's going through. We've all seen some of the bullying she's also faced online. And I mean, I don't like that stuff. I think it's one thing to be like, hey, you're a bad promo or you're a bad wrestler or whatever, right? And then it's another thing to be like, oh, you're awful and you're ugly and all of these terrible things I was seeing people say to Charlotte. And I didn't like that stuff, man. I think that took it way too far. But Charlotte Flair, I think that this partnership with Alexa Bliss, we've gotten to see a whole other side of her. Every time, Tempest, this happens all the time. I've interviewed Charlotte a couple of times now, right? Every time I interview her, the comments are always the same. Why can't Charlotte be this person? Wow, she's so nice. Her personality is so good. This interview made me like Charlotte. And people always said that about her. And then they were like, why is she this person on TV? Why is she this person? And then when you see who she really is in real life, people like her. She has a nice personality and all of that. So I feel like the Alexa Bliss partnership has kind of brought out a little bit more of that of Charlotte. So I think that's why people like it, and people tend to love the odd couple pairings.
Yeah, it's a formula that often produces results. And I think you're absolutely right, particularly with Charlotte's personality. Anytime you see an interview of her, she has a very energetic, bubbly, positive personality. And I don't know whose decision it's been to not have more of that come through on screen. And I'm not going to comment because I don't know. But I must say, like, everything that I say in my video essay and generally all of that opinion is based on the character of Charlotte Flair, her on-screen performances and all of that. And you can critique it, you can give, your commentary, your feedback, what have you. That I think is all fair game. But as soon as I put that video out, I made it very clear. Anybody that wants to comment on either their looks or what you think about them as a person, I'm just going to delete those comments because it is not welcome in my space whatsoever. I don't think it is welcome in any sort of wrestling space because it doesn't matter what you think of them as a person necessarily. Certainly doesn't matter what you think of them aesthetically when we're talking about their work. Either their character work or their in-ring work or what have you. And so it makes me supremely happy to watch a show like this and again, see a lot more of the positives that I've always wanted to see from Charlotte Flair, the character, come through on screen, finally.
I 100% agree. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says, I can't wait to watch WWE Unreal Season 2 after that main event. Oh, yeah, like that's got to play a role into all of that. Tempest, you think we see Season 2 of Unreal?
I have no idea. I have no idea what Netflix considers a success viewership-wise for an original series like this, but I hope we don't, just because I know for a fact you'll just see Triple H's smug face be like, are you watching the show? Just enjoy the show. You don't need to know the answers to everything, you smart marks. As he does at all the other press conferences, like when R-Truth got brought back. So the less I have of that being put in front of me is probably the better. But you know he's sat back in Gorilla as that's all happening. He's like, so pleased with himself. And it's a great angle. He should be very happy with how it's been executed. But getting that one over on all the dirt sheets for not knowing what was up, get your jollies, I suppose. If that's what is gonna float your boat, more power to you.
Well, I am hoping for a season 2 of Unreal just because I want to keep seeing all of the buzz and the chaos that came with it, right? Everyone's arguing, oh, this is going to ruin the business. This is not ruining the business, and the back and forths that have came of that. I have found it very, very entertaining to see all that play out. Thank you, Bob Ross Jr., for your generosity. We got Frank here who says, Lil Man and me not happy, but remember hashtag Team Queen Bliss won titles. We knew it, but still Seth winning sucks. Doesn't hurt any less, but forget all of that BS. We have Tempest in the building. Miss ya, brother. I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. Tempest, I love your wrestling takes every time we get to do any videos together. I always enjoy hearing what you have to say.
Thanks a lot, man. I mean, I'm very happy to be able to be doing this. It's a lot of fun. Like, I've been really excited about it all week. It's just been like this little
I thought you were going to reject
reunion. No, absolutely not. It would certainly not be my choice to ever not do any sort of collaboration with the lovely and wonderful Denise Salcedo. But it's just so nice. Like, honestly, of the people that I kind of imagine making up the broader like Quizlemania crew, the only person I think I've probably spent more time with outside of, you know, the Wrestle Talk main cast would maybe be Sean. And it's just a toss up between the two of you. And honestly, some of my favorite people in all of wrestling media anyway. So a chance to do not one, not two, but 3 shows on back-to-back days with the lovely and wonderful Denise Salcedo. How could I possibly say no?
I always have that fear, by the way, every time I reach out to people. But then I was like, oh, shit, you said yeah. And I was like, yeah, we're good to go. Let's go.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thank you, Frank. All right, we got Brandon here who says, yo, Tempest, good to see you on the show. Will you be coming back to Toronto for All Out? Great question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. I've got my trip booked. I'm very excited. I'm going to back-to-back AEW pay-per-views. I'm going to Forbidden Door here in London, and then I'm flying to the backwards text of the Toronto Blue Jays, the home of the Blue Jays, who last I checked were still in first place. So hopefully it'll still be the case when I go home. But yes, I'm very, very much looking forward to going to Toronto for All Out. And if you're going to be there, I hope I run into you.
I haven't decided yet. I've still been thinking about it, so we'll see. I'm still on. You guys know I make last minute decisions all the time. We got Frank here who says, "Oh, he gifted 5 DWO memberships. Thank you so much, man. You're the man, Frank. Thank you, man." We got Sheldon Jackson who says, "Paul Heyman's clients who've won world championships with Heyman as a manager. Ooh, he's got a list for us: Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, Big Show, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and now Seth Rollins. You know who I hope is next? Bron Breakker." Think it's possible, Tempest, that happens where maybe Braun eventually turns on Seth Rollins and we get that whole story unfold and see the rise of Bron Breakker. And while we're at it, my second favorite match of the night was the opening match, which was Roman and Jay versus Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker. I thought everyone kicked ass, but the MVP of this match was Bron Breakker. Dude always moves with such intensity, but I kind of felt that extra pep in his step here today. What do you think about what Sheldon had to say, and as well as the opening match?
I think if Bron Breakker is not world champion in WWE within the next, I don't know, I give it 18 months. If he's not world champion by the end of 18 months, say until like not next WrestleMania, but the WrestleMania after that, I would consider a colossal failure on somebody's part. He is world championship material. He's the fastest man alive. I swear to God.
I always say, Tempest, every time he runs the ropes, even though we've seen it 100 times, I still pop for that.
He's incredible. Every time I'm just like, I wonder if he's going to make the whole ring move again, like he did on that one NXT show. The damnedest thing I've probably ever seen from someone running the ropes, and so rarely is running the ropes one of the big highlights of a guy's repertoire, but he certainly has made that his. I certainly think he's going to be world champion under Paul Heyman, most likely, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I would very much like to see that. He's got the best spear in the business. Anytime I watch his matches, it's just, he gives me a certain feeling in wrestling that very few other people give me. And it's always so funny, and not to get into a whole big, like, you know, what is pro wrestling kind of conversation by any means, but every so often you'll see like a clip of Goldberg from like 98 in WCW when like La Parka hits him with the chair and he just like shrugs it off, spears him, and the whole time like 17 rows of people are just throwing their babies in the air and tearing their clothes off, running into the street, throwing popcorn everywhere. And that is the feeling that I feel is missed a lot of the time in wrestling. And when I watch Bron Breakker, I get a bit of that feeling again. So whatever the element of wrestling is that encapsulates, he's got it. And I think that's something that is fairly unique and something I want to see in a world champion. I love the opening match.
Right.
That
It's
was
the
really good too.
intensity and it's the intensity and it's the adrenaline that Bron Breakker brings that I think gives you that feeling that you're talking about. You mentioned Goldberg. I think that's the same vibe you get with guys like Goldberg, with Brock Lesnar, that's what makes them feel larger than life, is that full on just intensity that they bring. It's just glorious to see.
You can really tell that he's a Steiner, like that same feeling I think is really captured a lot in a lot of those like former football player, bodybuilder kind of people from like Crockett country in the 80s. Like the Road Warriors had a lot of that. If you go back and you watch like the first War Games matches where it is just the Horsemen against the Road Warriors, Dusty, Magnum TA, it's just a bunch of jacked up guys like the Road Warriors throwing the heels around and everyone in the building losing their minds for it. And that is, to a lot of people, what wrestling should be. And if you're one of those people, then I very much think Bron Breakker can be a beacon of that style of pro wrestling going into the future.
He's not boring. Simply said, he's not boring, and he's so fun to watch, man. So fun. We got Stephen Marchuli here who says, Denise, do you think he gets the bout back at WrestleMania? I'm assuming you're talking about CM Punk. God, I hope so. Like Tempest was saying, that it still has that feeling in the air that CM Punk will have his heyday as champion once again with an actual run. I just get nervous, man. CM Punk's getting a little older. We've seen him have a couple of injuries here and there. Was injured when he came back to WWE, was injured in AEW. And so I just get nervous in terms of having to wait. And that's the part where I'm like, oh man, like I know the opportunity can still be on the table, still be there to grab, but will the stars all align? That's the part that makes me nervous. That's why I wanted it to happen now, because I just don't know what the future holds or anything like that. So thank you so much, Stephen Marchuli. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says Julia versus Zelina 2 was way better than Kross and Sami 3. Whoever started the Karrion Kross propaganda needs to be banned from watching wrestling. All right, so let's get into this. Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross. This one was an interesting match. This is one that I feel it was weird, because when you think about matches you're really excited for, you're probably going to name a bunch of other matches. But Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross still had a lot of people intrigued, but they were primarily intrigued to see who was actually going to win, because both Sami and Karrion really needed the W, right? And this match ended up being super bland, Tempest. To me, the way that I saw this was, wow, there was really no remarkable moment that stood out to me. And then the way that the finish just came in and just happened, the way the match ended, I think it was like 8 minutes long, according here to Wikipedia. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, that's it? That is it. Really, this was not a SummerSlam match. Nothing came of this. So we got all of that for nothing. So I know a lot of people have been talking about Karrion Kross's contract. Is he going to stay? There's a lot of people that coming off of this match feel like his day with WWE is pretty much numbered. How did you feel about the match, Kross, and his future, and what he's done so far in WWE?
Well, it's interesting. It's a lot of questions, and I do think that a lot of them kind of tie together. I was watching it, and just like if I was to do a prediction ahead of time, I was like, well, I think Sami's probably going to win this, because as far as I can tell from reports, it seems as though they're winding Karrion Kross down. If he's not going to be remaining with the company, he's probably not going to win a match on the second biggest show of the year. So that was playing into it for sure. The actual match itself, it didn't really do a whole lot for me. There were certain storyline, threads that I was kind of interested in. Just the Sami Zayn embrace the hate story that they were doing. It's fine. Maybe it's a little bit more plausible now, because Sami Zayn has been a heel in WWE before, compared to the finish, which was very similar to the finish of Sami Zayn's NXT TakeOver match with Neville, where Sami Zayn finally wins the NXT Championship, and he has to decide whether he's going to use the belt, and he throws it aside, and he's not going to win that way, and he goes and he wins the title that he's been chasing for most of the year. He hits his finish and beats Neville, and it's all great, but there wasn't quite the emotional weight at all behind it this time to go along with a finish like that, because I like Sami Zayn sticking by his morals. You know, he had great tights on tonight for sure. And there wasn't that much to it, you know? Like, again, the match wasn't very long. I didn't think a lot of the matches tonight had a lot of stakes anyway. You know, there were a few just kind of tag matches, and this one was a regular singles match. And it didn't feel at any point like the winner or loser of this was going to have that much consequence. And it's hard to get invested in a match like that, you know? Unfortunately, I do think that kind of has been the case for a lot of Karrion Kross's matches in general, because maybe it's just me. I know it's kind of not. It's a bit of a common theme is that with a guy like him, who I thought has done a very, very good job of getting himself over this year through especially his promo work around WrestleMania when he cut that really impassioned promo on the AJ Styles and Logan Paul match. I thought that was the best work that I've seen him do in WWE to this point. I fully commend him being able to go out and do all of that. I thought that's 2 thumbs up. But unfortunately, the bell has to ring at a certain point. I know that's kind of becoming a phrase. And with a guy that I don't think you can necessarily trust in super long WWE main event formula type matches, it's always a little bit harder to get invested in his matches anyway, because you just don't think he's actually going to ascend up the card if he wins, because they're probably not going to put him in that position to do so. It's a really weird, like, kind of chicken and the egg kind of problem here. It's like, maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy too, a little bit, where he's not, therefore he can't, and he can't, therefore, you know, you just chase yourself around in circles and never end up pushing the guy. Maybe he could have done well if he was properly pushed at a point. I don't know. But as we're standing here, we went into SummerSlam with another match that on paper I wasn't terribly excited for. I watched it. I wasn't terribly enthralled by it either. It was fine. It was fairly bland. And now, hopefully, my only one real big hope for it is that maybe Sami Zayn can get something of like a championship push coming out of it. Because I am way past my point of my patience running out for Sami Zayn, world champion in WWE. I would very much like that to be in his near future as well. And we were talking earlier about what could be next for, you know, Seth Rollins and that sort of thing. I think some sort of program with Sami Zayn maybe happens through the fall here. I think if that's the case, Sami probably doesn't win the title. But if it's that sort of thing where maybe they have a match, there's a wonky finish, and it leads to intrigue around the Royal Rumble time, maybe Sami Zayn can get himself in a position where he can have a big moment at WrestleMania or just get in a title reign at some point. That's what I hope comes out of this match. But again, that might just be wishful thinking on my part.
But the dots do connect, though, because when you mentioned Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins not too long ago, were we not seeing confrontations between these two? We totally were. So it does feel like those dots can connect. And I feel like Sami Zayn is that guy that you have certain guys where you're going, oh, man, I can't wait for this guy to get his day. You can't wait for this guy to get his moment, right? When Cody was trying to finish his story, we were all so excited. I feel that the next guy that can have that moment, hey, will he finally get this opportunity? It's Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, who was the MVP besides maybe Roman Reigns when it came to the bloodline story. It really was some of the finest work that we had seen. And in that feud really proved that he could be a future world champion. And so the fact that people are still talking about it, you're talking about it, I'm talking about it, people in the chat have been talking about it, we still have something there where people want to circle back and get back to having Sami Zayn in that title picture. So at the end of the day, it was the right call for Sami Zayn to win. My thoughts in regards to Karrion Kross, though, is that I don't think the company sees anything in him. At least that's how it feels. You mentioned how he got over with that promo and nothing came of it. Nothing, which is sad, because when you get a lightning in the bottle kind of moment like that, as a wrestler, as a talent, you really count on that. You really hope that the powers that be see you and reward you, right? And it just hasn't happened just yet for Karrion Kross. And I'm not like the biggest fan of the in-ring work, only because the matches sometimes tend to have a lull. I prefer more so the the promos. I do prefer that when it comes to Kross. And I also feel like he works better with certain people. Like the last real big feud that I loved with Kross was the work that he did with Samoa Joe at NXT, which was, God, feels like 50 years now. But this one here with Sami Zayn was probably the best work he had done on the main roster, but it's been just far and few in between there. We got CJ96N9R. Thank you so much for sending in the super chat. Says, this show is 100% mid at best. This was like the same level as WrestleMania Night 1. Night 2 is going to have to carry for this to be a good SummerSlam. I think, Tempest, when a lot of people saw the original card, a lot of people were looking at it and going, damn, Night 1 is gonna suck. I still held out hope. I think the matches that I expected to deliver did deliver, in that being the opening match and that being the ending of the show. Every other match was just there. I didn't think, we just mentioned Sami and Karrion didn't have much. Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill was very brief, very short. Nothing much stood out there. Can't wait to get into the Jelly Roll match. We'll talk about that right now in a moment. But other than that, like, I do have to agree with CJ here. I didn't think it was the strongest show, but I do think people will look back at it a little bit more fondly because of the Seth Rollins cash-in.
No, 100%. I mean, I think the parallel between night 1 of WrestleMania and now night 1 of SummerSlam is very apt, where there wasn't a lot on night 1 of WrestleMania until the main event, and then everybody loved the main event, so it peaked at the end. And hopefully they buck this trend before the end of night 2, where it was a really good show that had a terrible main event. Let's not repeat that bit of history. But yeah, it was weird because you look at how this card was coming together and a few of the late match additions. I have no earthly idea why they wouldn't have put the TLC match on this show and add one of these tag matches to tomorrow's show. You'd think with the vast amount of stipulation matches we've got all stacked on top of one another tomorrow, they would have balanced this out a little bit, but that's the choice that they made, I suppose. I think it will kind of reflect on people's, memories of the show in general. I don't think the show sucked by any means. Like, I didn't think any of the matches were out and out bad. But again, I'm not going to go back and rewatch any of them ever outside of the main event. And if you're, again, doing a SummerSlam show, you are probably hoping for a higher level of quality than that. So
maybe they were hoping to put all the good stuff on night 2 so that, again, we can come away thinking like, oh, SummerSlam was amazing because all we remembered was night 2. We got Sheldon Jackson here who says, fun fact of the night, this is the second SummerSlam in which CM Punk wins a world title and then loses it immediately via cash-in. Del Rio in 2011 and Seth tonight. Sheldon, I was thinking it and I wanted to vomit when I thought about that because, God, that was terrible when it happened then. When I did my SummerSlam rewatch and relived it, it was like stabbing in the heart multiple times. I don't know, maybe just not good luck. Not good luck. It's unfortunate.
No. There's no Kevin Nash this time.
Oh, so God. Oh, my heart, Tempest. One of the worst things I've ever seen.
There have been very few nights where I've gone home more pissed off at being a wrestling fan than SummerSlam 2011.
Brutal.
So what do you mean? You finally build a new star for the first time in how long in CM Punk, and that's the day that you decide Alberto Del Rio needs to be the WWE champion? Not any of the other times leading up to it that year. Not any time after this that you can wait and have your moment at any moment because he's Money in the Bank guy.
Damn, bro, they just
no, it's gonna happen right then.
I'm starting to think Triple H still hates CM Punk. Obviously, that's a joke, right? But hey, man, I'm just kidding. All right. Infamous Ritter Loco here says the match was built so good, Gunther Punk, but we feel your pain, Denise. I was yelling, "Run, Punk, run!" He didn't run, son of a bitch. But storyline makes sense, even if I hate to admit it. CM Punk fighting to win it back, but when? Man, I'm hoping we get right to it. No stalling, no time to waste. Let's get to it. Thank you so much, Frank. We got Rahul Patel here who says, Denise plus Tempest equals magic. Please collaborate more. Tempest, great to see you back. Let's go, Seth. Thank you so much for the kind comment, Rahul, and I'm so glad you're enjoying the review. Seriously. We got Paula Bennett, 3017, who says, everyone feels good about a babyface cash-in. Everyone gets mad about a heel cash-in. I mean, yeah, right. Of course, that's the way that it should be. Like, heels should piss piss you off and make you angry. So on that regard, that's a success, right? They got the heat, pal. The heat happened. But I think a lot of people, like in general, they just mark out for the cash-in moments every time, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it is a WWE branded and italicized moment, so that's what people have been taught to love. And also, just about every other babyface on this show won outside of the Jelly Roll match. So having a heel win at the end does balance those scales ever so slightly. So you got plenty of babyface wins elsewhere on the show to go away happy with.
We got CJ96N9R who says, anyway, LA Knight's the one that got screwed, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, in a way, he got a victory, woohoo, over Seth Rollins, but let's be real, the boy got used in this situation. He didn't really get anything out of it.
It'll be interesting though. Like, I don't know if they're going to go this direction at all, but I would really like to see that storyline continue a little bit and just say, like, okay, well, if that is your plan, if you're going to feign a knee injury, Seth Rollins, if you are going to willfully lose this match to LA Knight, well, guess what? You're world champion. He just beat you. That means LA Knight gets the first shot at being, your number one contender. I think that would be a real good way to pay that off and look forward and still give that loss consequence. So you don't just go and feign a knee injury for the sake of it. It has to be looked at as like a risk. You can do this, sow some dissent and, you get one over on the champion. But if you do that, that does mean putting an L in your match catalog. So who knows? I'd like to see
LA Knight should be mad. Yeah, I feel like he should go in there and be like, man, what the hell? Like, you deceived me. And not only that, like, come on, I don't want to defeat you like this. I want to have a win over you that I can be proud of. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like WWE is similar to Karrion Kross, where LA Knight is somebody that has also kind of gotten himself over and was very popular, but also doesn't see those rewards at all. It makes me also feel like they don't like LA Knight very much. I still think they prefer him over Karrion Kross, but that's just the vibe that I get. Am I off on this?
I don't think so. I mean, just based on like the little bit of gossipy kind of news that's come out in the last day or so, where LA Knight liked some comment on Instagram that was talking about just like how he hasn't been given the opportunity.
I didn't see that. I was away at the stuff for SummerSlam Media Day, so I didn't see that. So what did the comment on Instagram say?
I don't remember what it said, like word for word, but it was something along the lines of like, you wait your turn and eventually, like, kind of sarcastically, because that was what people said about, LA Knight for the last 2-3 years when he was getting really over. It was like, well, you have to wait your turn and all of this, and the day will come. And it was something vaguely kind of criticizing WWE's use of LA Knight, and LA Knight liked the comment on Instagram. So for however much that is going to mean in the grand scheme of things, it might be a little window into what LA Knight kind of feels about the whole situation. And he certainly, I think, has the right to have a gripe, because he was about the most over guy. And I don't know what the best use of LA Knight really would have been. I'm not saying they should have put the world title on him, particularly in the middle of like Roman Reigns' big run. I'm not saying he should have been the guy to dethrone him by any means, but he's kind of just in limbo now. Like, maybe he's on a show, maybe he's not on a show. And that's not a good reward for someone who did just get over like you say you want your talent to do. So I think you should have gotten more for sure.
It sucks, but that's where we're at. Thank you so much, CJ. We got Corey MacArthur who says, clever move for Seth to cash in GQ style. Shoes was a dead giveaway. As a stylist, if your knee is injured, you wouldn't be able to wear them. See, I didn't catch that. Corey definitely caught that. So that was a great catch, Corey. Corey knew. He was like, come on, not with those shoes. Thank you so much, Corey. We got San Fran Trader. Thank you so much for the super chat. San Fran Trader says, Rhodes wins tomorrow, Cody. The Rock comes out and says, sorry, board has determined this match is invalid for forging Cena's signature. That is unless you'd like to sell your soul here and now. Hey, look, It can't happen. Let's be real. That contract should not be held to any sort of legal standing. But then again, this is pro wrestling and they've done shit like this in the past plenty of times.
I was about to say, is this everyone's first day in pro wrestling? I remember when John Cena came back at the Money in the Bank show post-pandemic and did his match with Roman Reigns at that SummerSlam. He went out and took a contract that had Finn Balor's name as the challenger, and Baron Corbin had beaten up Finn Balor, and John Cena takes the contract and signs it in big, stupid block letters like an asshole and steals that other man's championship match that he deserved. So I will not be hearing this, particularly on the part of one John Cena. Anything that'll bring The Rock into this storyline like he should have been from the start, but I don't see it happening personally. I have no idea what's going to happen in the main event tomorrow. Particularly Cena's weird babyface turn on SmackDown has really just made me go, what is going on? What level of swerve, like swerve, double turn, what's all going to happen here? Not a clue. Not an earthly idea what to expect. So I guess in that sense, you can expect anything, but I'd be surprised to see The Rock.
Expect the unexpected, or maybe don't. I don't know. I mean, not the heel turn didn't make sense in the first place. The babyface turn didn't make sense. Oh my gosh. And we'll have plenty of fun talking about that tomorrow. Don't forget to tune back in here for our SummerSlam Night 2 review. And of course, Tempest will be here with me for that too. So don't miss out on that. San Fran Trader, thank you so much for the super chat. And John Taylor, dude, thank you so much for this super generous super chat. John, man, you always thank you. Thank you. He says, I'm sending this super chat because I'm a huge fan of Tempest and would like this to become a regular thing. I had no desire to watch SummerSlam, so I didn't. But Sarah kept me informed. $99 because I want Tracy to be atop the super chat mountain tonight. That is so sweet, man. John here is an avid viewer of the show. So when John says and other people say here, like especially because I read the comments, by the way, guys. I read everyone's comments. I know what people say. So whenever our guest gets good feedback on the show, I definitely remember all of that because I look at that stuff, man. See, you know what, Tempest? I actually look at what the fans want and try to deliver on that regard.
It's a novel concept, isn't it?
It's not honestly, that hard. The fans tell you what they want, man. Triple H, I wanted CM Punk as World Heavyweight Champion.
But thank you very much, John. That means a lot to me. And I mean, you've got everybody, in mind here. You've got Tracy in mind, making sure she stays atop Super Chat Mountain. You've got myself, Denise, in mind. I appreciate it wholeheartedly. Everybody has been very, very kind since the announcement that I would be doing these shows, and it means a lot.
We got that guy, Matt12, who says, so what was the excuse for Goldberg not having time for his speech since this was the work with Seth being injured? Oh my God, I forgot about that. The excuse was they didn't give him that much time. That's it.
Sometimes the show just gets timed poorly, as we saw on Unreal. Poor True. Chris Park, poor Abyss, having to go through the worst night of his life, seemingly because two guys were running long. Apparently, it just happens, Bill. It's a shame you didn't get your retirement speech. That does suck, but
didn't Goldberg say he was going to talk about things in like 2 weeks? Did the 2 weeks happen already? Are we past the 2 weeks?
I don't know. I don't keep tabs on what Goldberg's shoot comment schedule is going to be.
Let's go. I want to hear what he has to say for the 2 week stuff. Oh my God, that's so funny. That guy Matt12, thank you so much, man. We got Soundwave 80s. Hey, good to have you back on here. Soundwave 80 says, you are all errands paying $14 are for their PLEs, and they will give you what they want to give you because of the prices. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to get whatever they give us, right? And we keep showing up. All right? I've seen them do CM Punk dirty in the past a million times, right? This was nowhere near that level. Of course, I was bummed, but nowhere near that level. Nowhere near the level of Alberto Del Rio, Kevin Nash, none of that stuff, right? But still, we keep showing up. I keep showing up. Thank you, Soundwave 80s. We got JJ Castillo here who says, what a crazy ending. Seth fooling everyone and winning the championship from CM Punk was insane. We still have a stacked night 2 tomorrow. JJ Castillo also says, how do you think night 2's main event will end? That's the magic question. So I'm going to rephrase it with, how would you want it to end? Tempest, to you, what would be a satisfying conclusion? For me, I just want a good match. It's that simple. I'm not asking for much. I don't think I'm so committed. Like, here's the thing, like, I'm not as passionate in John Cena and Cody Rhodes as maybe I was with tonight's main event.
Sure. Yeah, it's difficult to say because I have not enjoyed John Cena's heel run very much at all, to be totally honest. And I don't know what to make of his babyface promo, as I've just said. If I was given the book today and said, what's your finish for tomorrow? I would probably, like, because I've thought for a while, this is kind of around the time, if you're going to have Cody take the belt back, this is about when you want to do it. I think that is as good an idea as possible because it all depends on what you do after. So what I would do with this match is I would have John Cena play the role of like, oh no, I have turned face. I am a good guy. Let me show you how honorable I am. Get too close to where the finish is going to be and have him reveal his true colors that no, this was a ploy. This was all a sinister plot on his part to try and feign this babyface turn, and have him either try and hit Cody with the belt or hit him in the nuts or something like that. Do something really heelish, but for Cody to catch him in the act because he foresaw this. He's not a stupid babyface. He was like, nah, you're not going to fool me, John. Like, just make your babyface a smart guy. That is all I'm asking for from that. I think one of the worst things that we got out of the WrestleMania main event, which had a lot of very bad parts, you can kind of take your pick what was your least favorite, but the idea of Cody just not being able to use this belt and then just turn around, get nut shot, and then basically the finish, it just made him look like a stupid babyface. So if you can come out of tomorrow's main event with Cody Rhodes looking like anything but a stupid babyface, I think that is a big win. Whether he wins the title or not, I think the more interesting thing is what you do with this John Cena character as the clock starts to wind down on this last year. You've only got a few months left, so if you're going to go back to babyface or he's revealed to be lying and he's still a heel, you'd probably want the final send-off to be with him as a babyface. So if you're going to do that kind of storyline arc, I'm not saying you're running out of time to do it, but now is the time where you start having the big character changes. So something like that, perhaps.
Dude, I feel that you saying just don't make Cody Rhodes look like a stupid babyface. I'm so on board with that because I was so mad. And people hear that were in my watch along or in my review for that. We're hearing me just get so mad. Like, how could you do that to Cody Rhodes? It was one of the most horrible things, like after how right they did WrestleMania 40, right? And then to have him not execute with hitting the championship belt, oh, it hurt, it stung. I still think about it and I cringe. I get like secondhand embarrassment from that moment. They should have never done Cody like that. But hey, we're past that now, and I hope we don't see anything remotely close to what we saw at their WrestleMania match. Thank you, JJ. We got Hassan Batla, 2805. Hassan, what is up? Thank you so much for the super chat. Hassan says, the best part of wrestling is that even though it's predictable, you are still hyped when it happens. Hope you guys are doing well. Grateful to take my mind off of life for a little bit. Hey, man, I'm with you. At the end of the day, I'd rather get mad about pro wrestling than get mad about anything else. And yes, because even I knew Seth Rollins' thing was happening and I was pre-mad and the whole thing, I still reacted like I didn't know what was happening. Thank you, Hassan. We got Kid Cuddy 88 who says, okay, show tonight, but I know night 2 will be better. Just wanted to shout out Tempest and show love to you, Denise. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much, Kid Cuddy. And I'm so sorry it took me a little bit longer to get to everyone's super chats, but thank you so much for showing some love and coming in here and checking out the show. John Taylor says, also, Vindication for John Pollock of Post Wrestling, who was the first to report and has maintained that Steph's injury was a work and got crap for it. Welcome to pro wrestling journalism. It always happens, man. It always happens. But at the end of the day, you stick to your guns and you just wait and see. You just wait until everything gets proven to either your report or not. And just wait and see. But no, I really respect John Pollock a whole lot. He's been a guest here on the channel in the past and does great work over on Post Wrestling. So he should be smiling today. We got Stephen Marchuli here who says, are we getting Cody versus Seth at Crown Jewel? I don't think I even thought about that as a possibility. Did you, Tempest?
I hadn't, but I guess if they're doing their inaugural tradition of champion versus champion for the super mega giant sized belt like they did last year, I guess that would be what they do, because I can't see it being like a heel and heel thing, unless I guess John Cena is really a babyface. Maybe I'm just a cynic. But yeah, maybe Cody versus Seth for the big giant belt at Crown Jewel is what they do this year. Who knows? Maybe that's a one and done stip. Who knows? It's not in Saudi Arabia, which is really weird. They've just kept the name and it's somewhere else. So I don't know. Maybe I've always felt with the Saudi Arabia shows, a lot of the time it feels like it's the filler arc of the WWE's like calendar. A lot of the time it's just like stuff doesn't really matter for that month. You can have Logan Paul challenge Roman Reigns for the title and doesn't need to serve a bigger storyline purpose. So maybe that's what the giant belt was last year. That was last year's filler arc. And maybe if it's not in Saudi Arabia, we don't need to do it that way. Who knows?
I don't know if they're going to do it. I guess we'll find out. We'll see what happens. We got Crew Kid 52 who says, hey again, guys, Will Campbell here. Hey, Will. He says, hi, Tempest. Nice to see you. I also wanted to say that Bron Breakker is inhuman, and I'm glad that you mentioned Charlotte's article. Nearly made me cry in places. Yeah, I feel like Charlotte's just, she's been so honest about everything that has happened with her, and she's gone through a lot. Like, think about going through an injury, a divorce, and then people hating you. It's just every single aspect of your life sort of feeling like it's crumbling, and to be able to rise above that and continue moving forward, man, I can't help but to obviously praise that.
Yeah, I give her massive props for how she's responded to things in the media, in that article, but also with her work. Since WrestleMania, I think she's been doing very, very, very well. And also, shout out to you, Will Campbell.
I love that.
Shout out to you.
We got Infamous Rigger Local here who says, okay, no lies. CM Punk kicked out after the stomp just for Seth to hit a second and win would have been more badass, but it would have hurt more probably for us. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Got our hopes up and everything. That guy, Matt 12, says Jelly Roll, a.k.a. Rose Zempic, did pretty good tonight. What is happening here?
That's wild.
That guy, Matt, wild. I just realized we haven't even actually talked about the Jelly Roll match. Jesus Christ. We need to get into that. We had Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul defeat Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. All right, I'm just going to hit you guys with the stone cold facts. I did not like this match. There was one good moment, and that was Logan Paul hitting the frog splash off the top rope onto the commentary table to Jelly Roll. Shout out to Jelly Roll for taking that. Other than that, cool. We've seen that spot quite a bit, but Jelly Roll took it, so thumbs up. I did not like this. I didn't think it was any good. So many lulls in this match, and I just kept thinking, we got to move on, man. We got to end this. We got to end this. This felt like we were seeing them. I use this example, Tempest, but have you ever been in a situation where you're busy and you're doing something and there's a little kid being like, hey, come here, like, look at me, and you're kind of like having to coddle him and be like, all right, I'm going to pay attention to you. What are you doing that you needed my attention so badly? And you kind of have to be like nice and sweet about it, right? That's what it felt like with Jelly Roll. Like, I'm going to have to coddle this and make it nice and sweet so that he doesn't feel bad and everything works out nicely. I don't know. That's just how I felt about it.
Yeah, this was not the match that I was most looking forward to this weekend by any means. Like, sure, celebrity matches always have their place in pro wrestling, whatnot. I am fine for it being what it was. I thought for the most part, everyone played their roles well, their Jelly Rolls, well enough. But I don't know, like, Jelly Roll was fine in the ring. I would not say he was in the tier of like your Bad Bunnies or anything like that, like the really top echelon of celebrity wrestlers. Even people like, Stephen Amell at that SummerSlam 10 years ago. There have been a good amount of pretty decent celebrity wrestling matches. This one was fine. There was a big spot in it, which really helped. But I thought the structure of this match was really kind of odd. I thought it was wild that Jelly Roll started this match and then built to a Randy Orton hot tag when surely the thing that you are building to in this match is going to be the face-off between Jelly Roll and Logan Paul. I can't believe that was not how things happened. And as it was happening, just because it was all kind of like okay at the time, I was like, okay, maybe this will turn out all right. But it just felt like it started on a bit of like a backwards note and spent part of the match trying to catch up with itself a little bit. But the people were into it. They liked Jelly Roll. So shout out to that. It was working for a portion of the crowd that was there in the building. And that's the crowd that they are working to on the night. So fair play to that. But I don't know, for all the ones where the heels won in this match, I was shocked, utterly shocked that this is the one where the heels were going to win. Like, I don't know. I was baffled by the choice. And I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm sure we're going to have Jelly Roll get his win back at some point, and this won't be the last.
There's going to be more? I didn't think there was going to be more. I thought this was it.
He gets pinned at SummerSlam. I can't imagine that's the last we see of him. But like, I'm shocked that this match doesn't end with like Randy Orton RKO's Logan Paul, Jelly Roll pins him, and that's your finish. I'm not gonna get bent out of shape about it. I'm more so just bent out of shape that I'm kind of perplexed that this is what Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre were doing at SummerSlam. It feels like guys like that, particularly with how good Randy Orton has been since his comeback in 2023 and how good Drew McIntyre has been for the last 5 years. You talk about a guy who's kind of waiting around for his big moment. Drew McIntyre has very much deserved one this year, and I've not felt like Drew McIntyre has gotten a proper shake of the stick. And I was hoping SummerSlam would be more of his night than just kind of playing, the role of the wrestler, helping along the rest of the celebrity wrestling match. That's where more of my kind of feelings on the matter come in. But again, knowing that celebrity wrestling matches will always have a place in wrestling and whatnot, I kind of just shrug and go, oh, well, I'm sorry that it was that one particular guy.
It's probably best that you do that, honestly, because I felt like, look, Jelly Roll seems like a nice guy. I really actually liked his promo, by the way. And he seems cool, like his story, the whole thing. But yeah, man, this was rough. I think they should have kept it simple. I think they should have kept it generic where you build up to that moment where Jelly Roll does get that hot tag, like you mentioned, and then do the bit where he takes the frog splash from Logan Paul. Great. And then, finish it off however, right? But I just thought that we got too much of Jelly Roll to the point where it looked really silly. And that was the part that took me completely out of it. And it was a lot of moments where it was a lot of downtime. And I'm thinking, all right, what are we doing? What's happening? The camera isn't even focusing on anything because they don't even know what to focus on at this point in the match. So it was just so disconnected from what you thought it would at least be. And it just, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. And I'm with you on Drew McIntyre. I think that Drew is a guy that he did such amazing work with that storyline with CM Punk. And I was just expecting for those rewards to be a lot grander coming off of a feud like that. So that's where I'm at, man. But we got Subman23 here who says, the problem with saying you get mad when the heel cashes in this case, you mentioned Seth maybe twice in all this time. You're not mad at the heel. You're mad at the situation. Thank you so much, Subman23. Again, I'm just wanting to see CM Punk be a champion. That's it. It's as simple as that.
That's how you're supposed to feel. It's working.
Damn it, I hate the heat, damn it. Thank you, sub man. All right, we got CJ here who says Jade gets a world title for being over. LA Knight got the US title and randomly loses to Shinsuke Nakamura. Wins it just back to lose it again 2 weeks later. One of the worst decisions I had seen when they had him lose to Shinsuke Nakamura. Went nowhere. Thank you, CJ. We got Van Housen Van Life here who says, watching from the arena parking lot, hoping traffic clears before the show ends. Biggest pop was for the opening match and then Rollins cash-in. Van Housen, that definitely came through in the building. That pop for Roman was huge. The pop for the cash-in definitely got everybody very excited. And I hope that the parking lot situation clears out for you guys. That was part of the reason why I didn't want to go to MetLife, because the situation there is pretty rough when it comes to traffic and whatnot.
There are a lot of people in that parking lot right now that I'm sure are having flashbacks of WrestleMania 35 when no one could get out of the building and they'd shut the buses and the subways all down because the show went long.
So bad. I got so lucky that night. I had reserved a bus with F4W online, so I was lucky. I had a bus. I had a seat somewhere, but there was people that were there at 4 a.m. Had I been stuck at 4 a.m. that night, I would have missed my flight. So it was just chaotic, but hopefully it all works out for everybody there today. Hopefully no one had to stay stuck or anything like that. Thank you so much, Van Housen Van Life. We got John Taylor. John, as always, thank you so much, man. He sends in another generous super chat saying, Tempest is finding out that the DWO is pretty tight community. We've all become friends because of Denise and the watch-alongs and shows. I also believe that the creators should be able to make a living doing this, so I'll contribute to the Tempest Gets Paid Fund. That's a fact, man. Everyone here knows that this channel is completely funded by yours truly, and that also takes part in, putting out the content, being here, and having creators like Tempest and Santi and Reg and Robin and Chinadu and all of the other people that have made the show very, very special. So without them and without you guys, we wouldn't be anywhere.
We wouldn't be here without you, Denise. I literally would not be doing a show right now if not for you. So
I'm gonna be like Triple H, and I'm gonna be like Triple H, and I'm gonna do the DWO Unreal.
A whole show just putting yourself over.
Yes, I'm gonna be like, well, I work so hard, and I don't even know what else to say. Whatever. All right, thank you, John. We got Soundwave 80s here who says, I watched Too Close for Comfort. Have you ever watched it with Ted Knight? I actually haven't. Have you, Tempest?
I have not. I can confirm I have not, unfortunately. But it sounds like maybe a recommendation from Soundwave.
We got Tracy WV here who says, last one, Tempest. I was one of the 1/3 who wanted KO at the Rumble and felt your pain, and now he's injured. I'm crushed. The show wasn't bad. 3.5. 3.5 stars.
Oh, man. It's so tough because obviously with the way it all worked out and Kevin Owens needing to go off and get surgery, it is probably for the best that he didn't win the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. But damn it, on that night, I wanted nothing more in the world than for Kevin Owens to win the WWE Championship and for Sami Zayn to win the Royal Rumble. So it all wouldn't have worked out that way if it had gone that way. WrestleMania would have looked very different, unfortunately. But yeah, all that to say, hopefully a speedy recovery for Kevin Owens, and he'll win that title when he's back.
One of the best matches of the year, Elimination Chamber, him and Sami Zayn. Thank you, Tracy. We got CJ here who says, with Tiffany retaining, do you feel that means Triple H will have Naomi lose? I hope he doesn't get carried away with the title changes like he does at Mania. I'm still expecting Naomi to retain tomorrow. And my feeling hasn't changed on that. However, we haven't even gotten into the match between Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. I don't really think there's all that much. It was a fine matchup. It was like whatever's. It was just there. I didn't think it was really much. There wasn't really anything too memorable from it, though, unfortunately. I did like the ending, though. But that was kind of about it.
There were spots in this match where it felt like they kind of either lost each other or were just a bit of a step off from one another, which is not super unusual for like a Jade Cargill match, but I thought for the most part, the structure of it was fairly simple. They kept things, effective, keep it simple, stupid, as they say. I liked that enough. What I'm going to remember about this is that I'm just utterly shocked that Jade Cargill did not win the title here. It's always like, now Yeah, like
I didn't think she would because I just don't think she's ready yet. I love Jade, but she's just not at that level just yet. Just yet.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I also don't know that she'll ever be. And she is the kind of wrestler, and that's not to say that she can't improve and whatnot, but she has always kind of come across as a bit of one of those wrestlers where they kind of looked at Batista early on as you have to be main event or nothing. You know, she is not a wrestler that can just go 50-50, lose half of her matches on the undercard and kind of just find her way a little bit. She's too impressive. She's too much of a star to kind of be anything really less than the main event. She can do her storyline matches and be kept away from the title for longer periods. But generally speaking, just because of who she is, she shouldn't be someone who loses a lot of matches. And if you're going to be someone who doesn't lose a lot of matches, that probably in kayfabe sense should mean that you're the champion. But if they're not going to have the confidence to go with you as champion, it leads to this really weird kind of just limbo area where, well, are you going to win all your other matches and keep losing the title matches or just randomly not get title matches again for a while? I don't know. It's really interesting because I'm very surprised at how the women's title scene has kind of shaped out for the summer. Like, I think a lot of people saw Jade Cargill being inserted into, the women's world title scene with Tiffany Stratton and Naomi being Miss Money in the Bank and thinking, well, there's where the Money in the Bank briefcase is probably going to go. You're going to restart whatever the rivalry or storyline is going to be with Jade and Naomi, and maybe Bianca finds her way back into that. You can go whatever direction you're going to go with that. And they've gone the completely different direction. And Naomi's going to have her three-way match tomorrow, which is one of the matches I'm absolutely most looking forward to on either of these two cards. I think it's going to be fantastic and hopefully along the same level of quality that the three-way at WrestleMania was, which is still my favorite WWE match of the year. But the storyline of it all is really interesting. I don't know what Jade Cargill does next, particularly because I thought, not that we couldn't get more out of this Tiffany Stratton reign, but it felt like she's had a good run. If this was the time in which she was going to lose the title, no one would be like, oh, too soon or anything like that. So if now is not the time for Jade, I'm really not sure when will be. And that's not a question for me to answer, I guess, but it's really interesting. And as someone who still does think there's a lot more gas in the tank with the Naomi, Jade, and Bianca storyline, I'll be really interested to see where they go next and if they come back together at all, or if, again, that's just my wishful thinking.
You're right about Jade in terms of where she's at right now in this weird limbo sort of spot where she's championship material, but she's not necessarily there yet. So what exactly is going to happen? I guess my theory is that they're keeping her preoccupied with other stories, right? They've done such a great job with her and Naomi. That was fantastic. I think the next big one that we're waiting for her is Bianca and Jade at some point is going to happen. I almost feel that they're going to try to maybe keep her more preoccupied in the story realm until they finally get to the position where they thinking, okay, you know what, we can do enough with when she finally gets to that level or to that point where they feel that they can trust her to be a champion. Mind you, she can also have a trial and, before she lands the big one, she can have, she can be a U.S. champion. I definitely believe that Jade could be a U.S. women's champion. I think that would be phenomenal. So I think that could sort of be the step before she actually gets to that world championship. Because like you said, someone like Jade looks like she should be holding gold, but where is the gold? It hasn't happened just yet.
Well, it has happened just somewhere else. She was
a
TBS
exactly.
champion for a while.
But even then, that was, she had to copy and paste pretty much the same match over and over. So,
Yeah.
It's
a weird thing. We don't have the answers yet, and I guess that's part of the fun, but I'm intrigued by this one more than most of the results on the show.
I feel ya. We got Frank here who says, okay, but Cardi B was hyped AF, but Loki wanted her to fight maybe tomorrow, her and Chelsea beefing on Twitter or whatever, or at least a little confrontation. I think they should at least have a little backstage confrontation. I don't see the harm in that. Thank you, Frank. We got Obsessive Fanboy 7 here who says Seth hates CM Punk so much that he just came back early from his injury. Got like super strength. You know when they say you got mama bear strength? He developed that, but for his hate for CM Punk. So funny. Thank you, obsessive fanboy.
It's the comic book. The power of hate fueled him to repair his own knee. I was watching this. This might go over your head, and I apologize if it does. But there was the green shirt guy was in the front row, right? Well, there was a yellow shirt guy.
I saw him
down the row from him, and I was sat there, and the people I were watching it with went, "Oh my God, he's Green Lantern," and there's Sinestro over there.
Sinestro, but yeah,
you got your Green Lantern and you got your Yellow Lantern, and the Green Lantern is the good guy who fights with the power of will. The Yellow Lantern fights with the power of fear. So these two guys are going to be the main event of next year's SummerSlam.
Yo!
Good versus evil.
I'm sold, man. That's it. You sold me on the storyline. I just thought like, oh, he's wearing the same shirt, but it's yellow. Okay, cool. Whatever. I didn't even read that much into it. I wouldn't have known, honestly, because I'm not really expertise in that. Thank you, obsessive fanboy. We got Soundwave 80s who says TCFC is on Peacock. Good to know. Thank you, Soundwave 80s. We got the guy Matt 12 who says this stream sucks. JK, guys, great show tonight. Honestly, if you would have thought it sucked but still sent a super chat, I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, you can pay us to say it sucks. That's fine. We'll take the money.
Watch us get inflooded right now with a bunch of you guys really do suck. Oh man, that's funny. Thank you so much, that guy Matt 12. We got Frank here who says, you said it, Tempest. I love Jade and unfortunately agree. I want the best for Jade. We still haven't seen Julia or Stephanie as world champions. Women are money. That's one of our little things that we got here on the channel. But Frank, thank you so much. He also says, whatever happens, I want Stephanie winning in Paris. I'm with you, man. I still want that. And I think people have their hopes set up for that moment to eventually happen.
It's really interesting. Like, you know, obviously it's not the first time it's going to have been said by any means, but the women really have been carrying WWE for me this year. Like, I don't think it's even been close, really. The top of the women's main event scene has been by far the highlight. I think the best show that we've had this year has been Evolution, and I don't think that's even particularly close. And there's so many talented women on the roster that in theory should have a run with a top title, but there's only a couple of those top titles to kind of go around. And in theory, you want someone like Naomi, who's just become champion, to have a good long reign with, you know, title defenses and good storylines and everything like that. But if you've got that, and you've got, you know, a Tiffany Stratton also having a good long reign over here, that maybe means that someone like a Stephanie or, you know, a Julia or, you know, take your pick of all of the various women, you know, they might have to wait a little bit longer. They have to wait for their kind of moment to come about because it's a really good problem to have. There's just so much talent all fighting for the top spot. And hopefully that just, again, breeds competition and the best will get that top spot. That's what you want. And WWE right now is in a very, very good position with their women's division. So, again, a good problem to have.
Man, and it's just going to elevate because they're going to have to be more competitive, right? You're going to really have to push to be in that top spot, and making yourself better is going to make the division better, and overall will continue to make future generations of pro wrestling better, specifically speaking for the women's division right now. So I'm with you, man. I love the women. I think they're killing it, and they have been doing just such a great work. Like, I've been already thinking about my best of the year end list for specifically just the women's best WWE matches, and I'm already like halfway full with that list, and we still got half a year to go, right? So like the options are there. We got one more super chat here. This is from Frank, and he says, can't wait for your opinions on tomorrow's triple and IC title match. I can't wait, but hoping for the best on the TLC and everyone's safe. I'm thinking tomorrow's going to be just a zillion times better show. There's a lot of matches that have the opportunity to be a match of the year candidate if they really go for it. And so we'll see, and we'll be here to talk about that tomorrow. We got CJ here who says women carrying while being handicapped by Triple H. I do think the stories for the women should be a lot better, but they are definitely delivering when it comes to the in-ring. Thank you, CJ. And we got John Taylor here who says TWO Unreal. Denise, I had this idea. What if we get Tempest So I call Santi and get Love It. I get Robin on the line and he's like, do it. Text Chin and get a thumbs up. Try to call Reg and he sends me to voicemail. Text later was banging Mills or bagging Mills. You know what? I could totally see that response from Reg. He'd be like, oh, I was out on a freaking weed and coffee run and out with the MILFs and stuff. See, look,
run.
DWO and Real is already shaping up, man. It's going to be a great effing show. We're going to get to it. Thank you, John, for the creative thought on that. Thank you, John. All right. So with that being said, guys, that is our show for SummerSlam Night 1. I hope you guys had a blast. If you did, come back tomorrow. We will be here. But before we go, just a friendly reminder, everyone, I have so much SummerSlam content up, video clips with Charlotte, Bron Breakker, Alexa Bliss, Lyra Valkyria, Aleister Black. That's all up here on the channel. Go check those out. Every view matters and goes a long way. Go to the social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, @ Denise Salcedo. And I also want to give Tempest the opportunity to promote his stuff because he's working on a lot of different stuff and, you know, doing your own thing and all of the next chapter of your career, Tempest. Please take the floor and promote what you'd like.
Well, thank you again very much for the opportunity to come and have such a lovely time reviewing this show and the next 2 nights of shows as well. Yes, I, of course, can be found on Twitter @HeyIt'sTempest and on YouTube as well @HeyIt'sTempest. Please subscribe to that channel. I am once again up and running, making video essays that I love to make. I have 2 that have come out since I announced my departure from Wrestle Talk a few months ago. One, of course, being about Charlotte, and another being about The Suicide Squad, one of the fabulous comic book movies of the last few years. So a bit more variety. I won't just be talking about wrestling, but it will, of course, be the main topic because, you know, I love to talk about some wrestling. I have a bunch more projects currently cooking, and hopefully I will be able to tell you a little bit more about them in the near future. But if you want updates on those things, please subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, and throw a follow on Instagram just for the hell of it. At Tempest Likes Wrestling on Instagram. Someone else has the Hey It's Tempest thing, and I can't get it. But otherwise, Tempest Likes Wrestling on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube Hey It's Tempest.
I love that. Also, I just realized we're now both former Wrestle Talk employees. You know what this means, right?
What does that mean?
Luke Owen, we're watching you. You are now the enemy. All right. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. We love Luke. Luke Owen's going to be like, what the heck? Hey, bugger? What? I don't know. Actually, I just did a video with Luke Owen like 2 days ago on Patreon. Check that out. All right. We got Infamous Rare Local here, by the way, who says, do the soundbite, Denise. All right. We're not going to. Here we go. We're going to surprise Tempest because he has no idea what to expect. That's literally it.
Charge.
Mr. Grimley, who says DWO. Thank you, Mr. Grimley. And John Taylor says weekly Collision post show featuring Tempest. Denise, make Denise watch Collision. John, get out of here. That's it. We're sending you off. Actually, I did watch Collision this week. I thought it was great. It was actually my show of the week for Busted Open this week. But with that being said, that is our show. Thank you guys so much. And we will be back here tomorrow for some more SummerSlam conversation, watch along, you name it. It is happening. Bye, everyone.